real quickly. We're going to be led off by the chairman of our Board of Trustees, Dan Toscano. He'll be followed by our interim president, Dr. Andy Aguinobi. Dave Benedict will follow him. And then Dave will introduce our new head football coach. In between Dave's comments and Coach Mora's, there'll be a photo op, so photographers, you can be ready for that. We'll also, after Coach Mora's comments, we'll have a quick Q&A with members of the media. I know there's a lot of people here. We're only going to allow media to ask questions. I'd like to get through this before kickoff, but I'm sure everybody will hang around a little bit to chat afterwards. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce Chairman of our board, Dan Toscano.
Good morning, everybody. I'm sure you're all excited to hear from me. So apologies for taking a minute of your time. I just want to make a couple of points about this hire. First and foremost, and I speak on behalf of the entire Board of Trustees, just to express our support for the mission of our athletics program in its entirety, but in particular our football program. We have a lot of optimism for the future of this program, and it's really important that Connecticut's flagship have a very competitive football program that we can all be proud of. You might accuse me of being naive and having that optimism, but I'm okay with that, and just watch what happens. And I think the fact that you all are here today, I think you join me in that optimism. So thank you all for coming today. Coach Mora said something in one of our early conversations that really it reminded me of something that I've come to know about UConn. The further you get from stores, the better our brand and the better our reputation. Coach was sitting out in Idaho, obviously spent a lot of time on the West Coast, and the first thing he said to me when we spoke was the brand of UConn, the brand of UConn athletics, but the brand of UConn as a national flagship is very, very strong and very powerful, and was one of the things that caught his attention when he became aware of the opportunity. And we sit here right in the epicenter of UConn Nation, and I think we're our own worst critics sometimes. But the further away you get, the better our brand is, and the more highly regarded we are across the country. Sometimes it's easy to lose sight of that when you're here every day. And the last thing I just like to point out is I just like to make a comment about how excited I am, and I think we all are, to have someone of Coach Mora's caliber joining us here in UConn Nation. I'm not referring necessarily just to his football credentials, which are extensive, but I'm really focused on his leadership credentials, what he has done as a leader, not only of the programs that he's coached, but the communities he's served in. But I would also speak to his credentials as a person, and that's what I'm personally most excited about. This program needs leadership, it needs direction, it needs passion, and it needs somebody who's willing to stand up and say, dare to be great, and Coach Mora is the perfect person. And the last thing I'll say, if you look at everyone other than me on this podium, is there are threads that cut across about our leaders. Our president, Dr. Andy Aguinobi, an absolutely accomplished leader throughout his time in the private sector, and then leading UConn Health, and today leading all of UConn. And our athletic director, David Benedict, who's been with us for over half a decade. It probably feels a lot more than that. But what he's done over the time that we've been going through absolute transformation in the college athletics landscape is nothing short of a miracle. And I'd like to thank you for your leadership. And Coach Mora, I can't wait to see what you can do. With that, I'm going to turn it right over to our president, Dr. Andy Aguinobi.
So thank you for those kind words, Dan. You're just amazing Board of Trustees Chair. And I'd like to really welcome formally Coach Jim Mora to Connecticut, to the UConn Football program. And I want to also welcome his wonderful family that I just met today. And it's like, no wonder he's such a great leader with such a wonderful family behind him. So thank you all for coming. You know, one of the reasons I'm so excited is that Coach Mora is the right coach at the right time for UConn football. And the reason I say he's the right coach at the right time is, one, because he's supremely competent, you know, having coached at the professional level and the collegiate level, and having had such a great impact at every place that he's been in the past. But another reason is that he's passionate. He's extremely passionate about, and has been throughout the whole interview process, about UConn. And his passion is only matched by our enthusiasm and our passion to hire him, because we just knew that this is the right man, the right coach at the right time for us. He has a vision for UConn football. That's what we need. He's inspired. He knows that he can help us take UConn football to the next level, and that's what we need. But I think sort of in the same vein that Dan spoke about, Dan Toscano, you know, one of the things that came through really strongly to us in the interview process was that, yes, he cared about winning. We all care about winning, that's great. But beyond that, he cares about the student athletes. He deeply cares about them, the holistic picture of the student athletes. So their safety and well-being, their physical safety, their mental health, their academics. One of the things that he said to me as we were talking was, he said, you know, not everybody's going to have a long-term future and career in football, but we have to care about everybody's future. So we have to think about that when we're thinking about the student athletes. And that really resonated with me as the interim president of the University of Connecticut, that we really have to focus on the holistic aspect, the academics, as I said, the mental health, the safety, and the future careers of these individuals. So I'm really so impressed by the fact that he's a coach not just on the field, but off the field. So with that, I'm really excited. I want to welcome Coach Mora to UConn. Go Huskies. It's going to be a great time. And with that, I'd like to hand over to our athletics director, David Benedict.
Thank you, Dr. Aguanobi. Welcome this morning. I am fired up. Fired up to have Coach here, fired up to be here at a home football game at the Rent. We get a chance to recognize 18 seniors today, which means we got to be done by 11:35 so everyone can go acknowledge and recognize these young men that have poured themselves into this program over the last 4 or 5 years. But I'd like to welcome Coach's family. We have with us today Lilia, Cole, and his girlfriend Kanika, Ryder, and Trey, as well as Coach Mora's fiance, Kathy. Thank you for being here, making the trek out. I'm sure many of you are well aware of Coach's father, so we're looking forward to have him and his wife Connie join us at some other point in time when they can make it out. But it's going to be a great addition, and they truly want to be a part of UConn Nation and the fabric of the university community, which is really exciting. Have a lot of people to thank that supported us throughout this process. Our interim president who just spoke, as well as our board chair Dan Toscano. We had other trustees involved, the board liaison to athletics, Kevin O'Connor. Kevin's here with us today. Thank you for being here. We also had Paul Mounds, who serves on the board, as well as the governor. They played an integral role throughout the process, not just during the interview process, but having the governor come out and be supportive and make it known that we absolutely want to be successful in college football in our flagship state university was critical as we went out to recruit people in this search. We had other former board members and chairs. We have Coach Larry McHugh here, as well as Dennis Dayton that participated, and then former athletes, both Michael Burton as well as Chris Frazier. So we had a lot of people that assisted throughout the process, and I'm thankful and appreciative of their help. We also had former players, season ticket holders, and donors that participated in listening sessions, as well as many fans that took the opportunity to email me their personal thoughts about what we should do, as well as direct message me on social media. I couldn't have done it without you, so thank you very much. You know, I do have to thank my wife. We became empty nesters in September. We just didn't know that the empty nest was going to include me. So it's been a busy couple of months, but I'll be happy to have a little bit normal schedule here as we move forward. So the process, you know, we haven't really talked a lot about the process. The first part of the process really was the information gathering process, which we were able to start early. You know, typically these searches begin at the end of the year, and you're really in a mad rush to get the process underway. We were fortunate; we had a lot of time, which allowed us to handle the search quite differently. Not that there's a lot of good things that came out of COVID, but one of them is the fact that we're much more comfortable and utilize virtual technology. So our ability to meet with people virtually was a significant enhancement as we went through this search. People about their interest in this search. So we talked to assistant coaches, coordinators, former head coaches, former NFL head coaches, current coaches. We really were able to search far and wide, and the virtual conversations made it really easy. It also allowed both parties to really have a better appreciation for each other, because a lot of communication happens non-verbally. So that was a huge asset to the process. The next piece, we also engaged a group by Coaches by the Numbers. They've created basically a database so that you can analyze every aspect of an individual and what they've done throughout their career from a coaching standpoint. So just about any data point that comes out of a football game that we have today is input into their system, and so that you can get a very objective look at what a coach's history has been. And so the information really focuses on head coaches and coordinators, and it really gives you a great roadmap as to what they've done and what they've accomplished. So we leaned on both of those pieces, as well as Parker Executive Search. Daniel Parker assisted throughout the process and was an invaluable part of it. So the last piece, which is probably the most interesting part of the search, was the trip to Idaho. And we got to a place in the search where we kind of knew what the list was, who we were interested in, kind of what that priority order looked like. And I knew that we wanted to meet with Coach Mora, and there was no reason to wait, because Coach Mora, fortunately for us, wasn't on the sideline coaching at the time. So we had an opportunity to set up a time to come visit. I flew out to Idaho to visit him in his hometown. He was coming off of a long extended trip, and we met. We had the opportunity to meet on Sunday night, and then we proceeded to meet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, when we officially announced him that he was going to be our head coach. And you know, there's a lot of things that we did in Idaho, but most importantly, we just sat and talked about pretty much anything and everything that you can imagine about his past, our program, the challenges, the opportunities, and ultimately, I'm sure there'll be a lot of stories that will get better as years go on. But here's ultimately why we came to the conclusion that it made sense for us to hire Coach right away. And this was mentioned earlier, but at the heart, he's a servant leader. He's there for his student athletes, and he's passionate about it. I think it was on the first morning that I came to his house he asked if he could have a minute because he was finishing up a recommendation for one of his former collegiate players for law school. And so he stays in contact. He continues to support his student athletes that he's coached, both at the pro level as well as in college. He's a lifetime learner. He loves to compete. He has a massive football network. He wants to be a part of a college campus community. He talked about being engaged with his former student athletes. He's not afraid to own his mistakes. And I can't remember what day it was. I think it might have been Monday morning. He pulled out this really huge book and he put it on the table. And he started going through all the mistakes he's made in his coaching career. It wasn't that big, but I was worried it was going to take us a couple days just to get through them. But no, the point is he has basically journaled every instance that he believed he made a mistake on the sideline as a coordinator and as a head coach. And he's gone back, he's thought through that mistake, and then basically written down what he should have done. So to me that says a lot about a person, that they're willing to learn from their mistakes, they're willing to own those mistakes, and then how to get better from them. I think it's very important. He's a very passionate person, especially about his family and football. He has something to prove. I talked about it earlier on the radio. I think it's good to have a little chip on your shoulder. He's definitely chippy about certain things, which I'm sure we'll all come to know, but winning is something that's very important to him. He's also raised millions of dollars for charity, which I'm sure he's going to want to be active in this community, but that goes back to being a servant leader. He is a bit crazy now. He's taught me about certain things that I've never known anything about, which a lot has to do with being in Idaho and being involved in skiing, which growing up in Arizona, you don't ski much in Arizona. So he does this thing that's called skinning. He puts moleskin on the bottom of skis and he walks up and climbs up these mountains that are 10,000 feet in elevation in the dark, and then he puts one of these headlamps on and skis down the hill in the darkness, which, you know, I think is crazy. Maybe someone else in here has done this before, but we're going to put something in his contract that says as long as he's our head coach, there's no skinning. And then, look, in all seriousness, what I found out was, you know, Coach Mora is the perfect fit for this program right now. He's a good person. He's a great coach, and we are very, very fortunate that he wanted to be at UConn, which that is something that beyond all of the other things that I just talked about was the most important, is that he wanted to be at UConn, knowing the challenges. And I made sure I was very direct and clear that, you know, this is a challenge. He knows it. He welcomes it, and I think you guys are all going to be excited. So, look, the early returns, he's been out, he's been in the community, he's been to basketball games, he's been to a volleyball game, he's been out to hand out turkeys with the governor. You know, we couldn't be happier. He's already been out to some of the high school ball games. He's reached out to all the high school coaches. So he's doing everything that we would expect of him, and it's been a very short period of time. So we couldn't be more excited to have Coach Mora and the rest of the Mora family with us today. And so please give a warm UConn Nation hand to our new football coach, Jim Mora.
For this university and for our students and our student athletes, and it just resonated with me. And so thank you for all the support and your kind words today. To Dan and the Board of Trustees, the same thing. Dan and I have spoken a few times, and his passion not only for this university but for this football program and the support that he and the other members of the Board of Trustees have expressed has really resonated with me and made this a special opportunity. I also want to thank the UConn Nation. Since the day I arrived on campus, well, actually at the XL Center for the women's basketball game, which was quite an experience, I've just felt tremendous support. And then to David, and he mentioned his wife Lisa, have just welcomed me with open arms. As David mentioned, we got a chance to spend a lot of time together in Idaho, and it was a special time because we were able to bond on many, many levels. And in order to have success in this industry, you need people around you that you can trust and that that will support you and that you respect. And in this guy right here, we have all of those things. And I think it's going to be an outstanding fit. I know that as a head football coach, the most important relationship you can have in the building is that with the athletic director. And I think that we are off to a really good start. I also want to recognize, before I go any further, my support staff, and that's my family. And my wife-to-be, my fiance, Kathy, right here, who, she is all in on this, and she's going to be a great representative of UConn, of the state of Connecticut, of UConn football, and she's a mama bear, and she's going to make sure that our student athletes and our coaches' wives and their families are taken care of. I want to introduce my oldest son, Cole, who lives in New York City, which is awesome because he's close. My daughter, Lilia, who lives in Venice Beach, California. She's pretty special. She's got her, you know what she's got on? She's got her UConn hockey jersey on, so she understands the culture here. My son Ryder, who's familiar with the East, he initially was at University of Maryland as a lacrosse player, then transferred to USC and graduated from there, as did my daughter, who was about to graduate, as did my daughter Lilia, and then my youngest son Trey, who's a freshman at the University of Colorado, and then Cole's daughter, I said that twice now, Cole's girlfriend, Konica. If you have a daughter that old, we've got issues. But unfortunately, my mom and dad, Connie and Jim, and my two brothers, Michael and Stephen, and their wives, Jessica and Amy, and their families could not be here. They're all in California. Today was supposed to actually be a birthday celebration for me. I just turned 40, and we were all going to have a celebration, and they're all celebrating, and I'm grateful to be right here with all of you. This has been a really special process for me, and I can tell you that from the very beginning, when the UConn job came available, this was the job that I wanted, and there was no doubt and no hesitation in my mind. I'm familiar with this part of the country. I worked for ESPN for 3 years, so I spent a lot of time in Bristol. I've flown in and out of Hartford probably 50 times. I got to spend an entire day on this campus in 2019 and couldn't have been more impressed with not only the football facilities, but the athletic facilities in general, and the campus, and that community. And when this job came open, I made the first contact. I said, that's a job I want to have. And I told Kathy, I said, I want this UConn job. Everything about it is special. You've got a national brand, as Dan said. Everybody in the country, whether it's the East Coast, the Midwest, or the West Coast, recognizes UConn. Primarily for our basketball programs, but soon for our football program as well. Yeah. It's an institution that combines athletic and academic excellence at all levels. And as great as we are on the court and on the field and in the pool and on the rink, we're equally great or even greater in the classroom. And one of the things that I've learned in my coaching career is every young man comes into our program with the dream of going on and playing in the National Football League. But the number of those young men that actually have that opportunity is very few. And so one of my commitments as a football coach is to their future success. And that starts really the day they walk in the door, helping them build as young men into the men that their parents believed that they could become. And so we join hands with our academic support. We create mentorship programs. And we create other passions beyond just football for these young men, so that when they step off the field, they step off the campus, whether that be when they're finished playing at UConn or a successful career in the NFL, they're ready to attack the rest of their life with the same passion they attack their football career with. And that's critically important to me. And I see that as something that we have to offer at UConn. I'm really excited about that. when I was going through this process with David, I got a chance to talk to Dan and Dr. Andy, as I said, and many others that are in this room, and the undeniable passion that everybody had for UConn only confirmed that this was a job for me. The support that I felt from these men and from our governor. I've been coaching for 31 years. I've never had the chance to interview with the governor. I mean, that meant something to me. That showed the support and the passion that people in this state have for this program. And I am just honored and blessed and thankful and energized and passionate and 1,000% in with UConn and the UConn Nation. So thank you so much for welcoming me and my family. We appreciate it.
That you came in with a vision. I was wondering if you could share a little bit about what you feel success at UConn will look like, and if you have a timeline, and when you see achieving that.
Well, success takes on many forms, and certainly on the field that means a competitive, respected football team on a national level. It also means that our student athletes graduate, and in graduating get an education and develop, as I said, other passions and other paths to success off the football field. In terms of a timeline, I'm not going to tie us down to a timeline. I'm going to say that every single day we're going to take another step towards being better. And it's a process. And if you stick to the process, if you have standards, and if you push those standards, and if you stay committed, and you create a culture where everyone's speaking the same language, and everyone's got the same vision and the same focus and the same goals, and it's a team atmosphere. And yeah, we're going to celebrate individual accomplishments amongst our players as long as they lead to team success. If you do that, and you get better every day, like I said, then you have a chance, I think, to be successful on the field sooner rather than later.
Coach, welcome. This is Gavin Key from the New London Day. Why was it important to reach out to the high school coaches, and what were those conversations like?
Well, I think it's important because they're so invested in our young men in this state, and they're passionate about high school football, and what I've also found is they're passionate about UConn football. And I want to develop those relationships. And I've told all of them, I said, listen, we need to build a relationship. We need to be able to collaborate. We need to be able to teach each other about football, about life. I want to have clinics. I want to have open doors. I've invited them all to come to our university and be in our staff meetings, be in our player meetings, watch practice, be around the football program. I think that I have a lot to learn from them, not only about our state and high school and prep school football in our state, but also about football. I've found that there are great coaches at all levels, and I think there's pearls of wisdom to be found everywhere. And so it's critically important that we engage the high school coaches in Connecticut and involve them and make them feel welcome, so that when they have a good football player, they feel safe and comfortable sending them to UConn.
Hi, Jim. Donald Mora from the Current. Nice to see you again this morning. I just want to ask you, of your previous jobs, which is the most like this one going in? Which challenge have you taken on that's the most like this, or is this really a unique challenge for you?
Well, I think they've all been challenging, and I think every day is a challenge, and that's how I approach every day. You know, David talked about skinning. Well, one of the things that I love to do is I love to go uphill. Whether it's hiking, climbing, skinning, snowshoeing, mountain biking, whatever it may be, I like to go uphill. I like things that are hard. Hard things motivate me. And so this is just another chance to continue to walk up a hill. And I love that opportunity. When I went to Atlanta as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, you know, we were a 5-11 team the year before. And, you know, as a staff, as an organization, as players, we all joined hands and we became a team that was 11-5 and played in the NFC Championship game. When we went to UCLA, I believe they were 5-8. Same thing. Everybody in our community joined up and we went to the Pac-12 Championship game that first year. But those were big challenges. I don't look at one challenge as any bigger than another. I just, like I said, hard things are hard and I like hard things.
Anybody else have any questions?
Coach, I don't expect you to announce any hirings right now, but can you talk about your process in putting together a staff? There's been a lot of mention of Coach Spanos, and you have a relationship with him. Is there anybody on the current staff that has a possibility of maintaining, and in terms of the talent level on this team currently, how has your evaluation of that been?
Well, one of the advantages of coming in early, besides the fact that I was able to get in the community, I was able to get to know our team a little bit, be able to recruit a little bit, is I've been able to really spend a lot of time focusing on staff. And I don't think today's the right time to talk about the current staff or the future staff. I think what's important today is that we focus on the seniors that are out there and the young men that are playing and their families and the coaches that are here, and give them all the support we can. We will make decisions as we go that are in the best interest of UConn and the UConn football team. All things are being considered, all things are being evaluated, all angles are being studied, and we're going to make the right decisions as we go forward to put the best staff of men and mentors in place to help us get where we want to be academically and athletically.
Hey Coach, Gabby from NBC Connecticut, how are you?
Hi there.
So I don't know if Dave gave up one of your biggest secrets in your book of learning, we'll call it, but... Okay,
so just so I can be clear, the book wasn't just mistakes. Okay? the book that David refers to is a book of game day decisions that I'd either seen or made that I thought were either good decisions or bad decisions in terms of clock management, going for two, going for it on fourth down, things like that. And it wasn't that big either, okay? But it is something that I've always done. Is I think the most important thing you can do is self-evaluate. So I interrupted you, but finish your question, please.
Well, that was the first part, how thick was this? But the second question is really just, what part of the process is that for you, to go back and self-reflect? And do you intend to maybe add a couple pages?
Well, like I said, you know, when you leave a job and it's not under your own control, I think, you know, for all of us really, is the first thing we do is try to find someone to blame or point the finger at. And I think that very quickly you have to move away from self-pity and move to self-reflection and realize what you may have been able to do different that could have changed the circumstances that you're in. And that's something that I've always tried to do, and it's not easy to do. And I've been very fortunate to be around a lot of really good mentors, coaches, players, administrators, and I try to reflect on the teachings that I've learned from them, good and bad, and incorporate those things going forward. But the most important thing I believe we can do as human beings is be very honest with ourselves and realize where we went wrong and how we can correct that, and then move forward in a positive way. We're all going to make mistakes at times, but I think that's self-reflection and just being honest and honest with yourself. That's the most important thing. The standards you hold yourself to me, is the most important standard.
Coach Joe Zolman from Channel 3 over here. I think I get the last one. Welcome. Okay. Do you change your philosophy, your coaching philosophy, to fit players you'll get, or do you try to get players that will fit your coaching philosophy?
I think that's a really valid question. This is what my philosophy is that as a football coach, you should have a catalog of concepts, let's say, offensive and defensive concepts that you believe in, that you have an expertise in, and then you should be able to evaluate your players and their talents and what they do well and what they struggle at, and put them in the best situation to have success and avoid failure by taking the concepts that fit what they do well and incorporate them into your system. Now, there's some foundational things that I always believe in as a football coach: effort, passion, discipline, toughness, selflessness, things like that. We never waver from those things, being able to be a good tackling team, a fundamentally sound team, a technically sound team, a situationally smart team. Okay, those things are never compromised. They don't change, but you have to be able to adapt your schemes to the players that are on your roster. And then as you move through time, maybe you recruit a little bit different type of athlete, or a kid develops in a different way than maybe you anticipated he would. And so you have to be able to adapt your scheme and be fluid. The best coaches I've been around, guys like Bill Walsh and Steve Mariucci and Mike Holmgren and my dad and many, many others, I'm sure I'm leaving some out, they had this catalog of knowledge. They would look at their team and they'd say, what fits our team best? What's going to give our players the best chance of success? And what's going to eliminate failure for them? And then that's what they teach, and that's what they emphasize, and then that's what they go with. So that's the answer right there.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. Let's have one more round of applause.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. I couldn't be more excited about this opportunity.